Hello, loves. Welcome back to Let's Talk, the podcast where we have real, raw, and honest conversations about healing, personal growth, and living life on your own terms. I'm your host, Preeti, and today we are diving into a topic that I know so many of us struggle with expectations. You know, those invisible rules that tell us who we should be, what success should look like, and how we should live our lives? Yeah, we're breaking from all of that today. In this episode, we are going to unpack why we feel the pressure, how to set boundaries like a boss, and most importantly, how to redefine success and fulfillment in a way that actually feels good to you. No more chasing someone else's version of happiness. It's time to create your own. So grab your coffee, tea, or whatever makes you feel comfortable, cozy, and let's talk. Welcome to this episode where we dive deep into the weight of expectations that we often carry, whether from society, family, or ourselves. The burden can feel overwhelming. And in this segment, I want to bring you into a personal story of how expectations shaped my journey, both in painful and transformative ways. Let me take you back to a time when I was just starting my journey as a mental health and wellness coach. I had a clear vision of what I wanted to offer the world to help others navigate their emotional landscapes, find their strength, and build resilience. But alongside this purpose, I carried an invisible weight. It wasn't just the typical what will people think or am I doing this right? It was something much deeper. The pressure to meet expectations was overwhelming, like an invisible hand pushing me into a box I didn't fit into. At the time, I was grappling with my own healing process after a series of personal losses. I wanted to share my story, but I also felt this intense need to present myself as healed, perfect, ready, and whole. The expectation wasn't coming from others at that moment, but from myself. I thought that if I could just show that I had it all together, if I could just put on this polished exterior, maybe the pain I was carrying would be easier to bear. But let me tell you, the more I tried to meet these expectations, the more I felt like I was losing myself. It felt like wearing a mask, and ironically, the more I wore that mask, the more disconnected I became from my true self. One pivotal moment came during a coaching session with a client. We were discussing the struggle of meeting others' expectations. And I suddenly realized I had been doing the exact same thing with myself. I had been telling my clients to embrace vulnerability, to show up as their authentic selves, and yet I wasn't doing that for myself. I was stuck in this idea that I needed to be the perfect picture of healing before I could guide others. The story brings me to a profound turning point. I had to let go of this idea that healing meant perfection. I had to stop trying to meet expectations that were never mine to begin with. And in that space of surrender, something incredible happened. I felt a sense of liberation. The weight that had been pressing down on me for so long began to lift, piece by piece. It's so interesting how expectations, whether they are external or self imposed, can shape the way we show up in the world. They can create this illusion that there is a right way to heal, to live, or to be. And if we don't fit into that mold, it can lead to feelings of inadequacy, shame, and self doubt. This is why, in my work, I now emphasize the importance of releasing expectations. Not only the expectations others place on us, but also the ones we place on ourselves. The truth is, healing and growth aren't linear. There is no one size fits all approach to navigating pain and moving forward. Healing is about being honest with yourself, acknowledging the complexities of your journey, and giving yourself the grace to not have everything figured out. As I reflect on this, I realize that shedding these expectations allowed me to be more open. more authentic, and more compassionate. It gave me the freedom to just be, without the pressure to be someone I thought I had to be. And that in itself became a powerful act of healing. So, what happens when when we stop trying to live up to unrealistic expectations? We create space to just be who we are. We get to redefine success on our own terms, not based on someone else's version of what it should look like. The weight of expectations can be heavy, but the freedom found in releasing them is immeasurable. Let's talk about navigating the path of self compassion, breaking free from the chains. In this segment, we're diving into the concept of self compassion, how it's essential to healing, and how it can help us break free from the crushing weight of expectations. If you've ever felt like you're constantly fighting against an invisible force, trying to meet an impossible standard, this segment is for you. Let me take you on another part of my journey, a time when self compassion became the key to navigating this struggle. A few years ago, I was in the midst of a particularly challenging season. I had recently experienced a miscarriage and was facing the emotional aftermath of both the loss and the weight of expectations from people around me. And let's be honest, from myself. The world and even my inner dialogue was telling me I needed to move on, to get back to normal, to be strong. But here's the thing, I didn't feel strong. I didn't feel normal. I felt fragile, broken, and deeply human. And yet, in the midst of all of this, there was this quiet, almost whispering voice inside me, urging me to meet myself with kindness instead of judgment. In the beginning, I struggled with this. I told myself that I didn't have time for self compassion. I had a life to live, goals to meet, and people depending on me. I was putting pressure on myself to be okay, to heal quickly, to return to who I was before. It wasn't until I hit a wall, emotionally and mentally, that I realized something had to change. One evening, as I sat on my couch, feeling overwhelmed by the weight of everything, the expectations of myself and others, the grief I hadn't fully allowed myself to feel, I decided to stop. I sat still, closed my eyes, and just listened. What I discovered in that moment was profound. I was so focused on achieving some unattainable version of perfect healing that I had lost sight of what I really needed. What I needed wasn't to be fixed or to rush through my pain. I needed to offer myself self compassion. I allowed myself to feel the sadness, the grief, and the uncertainty. I gave myself permission to be human, to not have all the answers, to not be strong all the time. And with that shift, something miraculous happened. I felt lighter. It wasn't an immediate fix, but it was the start of a much deeper, more gentle approach to healing. Self compassion isn't just about giving ourselves permission to feel our pain. It's about recognizing that we are worthy of kindness, especially when we are struggling. It's about acknowledging that we don't have to meet external expectations and we don't have to push ourselves to be perfect in order to heal. When we practice self compassion, we start to let go of those harsh, self imposed standards. We start to replace judgment with understanding. We start to honor our emotions and needs instead of silencing them. In that space of gentleness, we can move from I should be over this by now to it's okay that I'm not okay right now. I am worthy of love and care, even in my most vulnerable moments. I want to emphasize that self compassion is not a one time thing, it is an ongoing practice. It's about showing up for yourself every single day in big ways and small, especially when the weight of expectations feels unbearable. For me, a simple practice that helped me writing was writing myself a letter. I sat down and wrote to myself as if I were writing to a close friend who was suffering. I gave myself permission to feel all the emotions I was holding on to. And I reminded myself that it was okay to not have everything figured out. I ended the letter with a gentle affirmation: You are enough just as you are. That shift took place when I allowed myself this kind of love and understanding was nothing short of transformational. It didn't mean I no longer had expectations, but it meant that I was no longer holding myself captive to them. I found that with compassion, I could slowly release the suffocating grip of external and internal pressures. I could heal in my own time, on my own terms. So, if you're carrying the weight of expectations right now, whether it's from others or from the relentless voice inside your head, I encourage you to take a step back. Practice self compassion. Be gentle with yourself. Let go of the need to get it right and simply give yourself the space to be, to breathe, and to heal. It's not easy, but it is worth it. When we allow ourselves the grace of compassion, we begin to free ourselves from the expectations that once bound us. And that is when truly true healing begins. In the next segment, we are going to explore a powerful concept: the freedom that comes with letting go of the weight of expectations. When we stop trying to live up to other people's or our own unrealistic standards, we open the door to redefine success and ultimately our own sense of peace. Letting go doesn't just free us, it can also be a profound act of self empowerment. A few years ago, as I was diving deeper into my healing journey, I hit a major crossroad. As a business owner and a wellness coach, I had been working relentlessly to meet goals, not just for myself, but also for my clients and my community. I thought success was about achieving external milestones, growing my client base, increasing my social media following, hitting revenue targets, and creating a perfect image of my life for the world to see. And while I was achieving these things, something felt off. On the outside, everything looked great, but internally, I felt exhausted. My sense of fulfillment was fleeting, and I couldn't quite figure out why. I began to question: was I chasing the right kind of success? I had always prided myself on being driven, focused, and ambitious. But over time, I started to realize that I was chasing a version of success that was built entirely on meeting other people's expectations. Expectations of what a successful business owner should look like, what a thriving wellness coach should look like, what a wellness coach should sound like, and what it means to be healed. One day I was sitting in a coffee shop reflecting on the trajectory of my journey. I was writing in my journal when a thought hit me. What if success wasn't about achieving some end goal, but about how I felt in the process? What if true success was defined by my peace, my authenticity, and my connection to myself and others? This realization was like a weight being lifted off from my chest. It wasn't that I had to give up my ambitions, but I began to see that success didn't have to come at the cost of mental health, my well being, or my happiness. I could redefine success on my own terms. I took a step back and re examined the way I approached my business, my life, and my goals. I asked myself questions like: what does success really look like for me? Is it about the money, about recognition, or is it about feeling aligned with my values and being true to who I am? And that's when I realized that my success was never about how many clients I had, how popular my content was, or how quickly I was growing. It was about the deeper satisfaction I felt that when I showed up authentically for myself and my clients. It was about the sense of fulfillment I got from creating meaningful connections and providing value to those who needed it. It was about being present in each moment and not constantly chasing the next goal. The act of letting go of these external measures of success, of surrendering the pressure to meet others' expectations, allowed me to experience a new freedom. I started setting goals based on what felt good to me, what I wanted to create, and what was aligned with my core values. This shift changed everything. But it didn't happen overnight. Letting go of the weight of expectations, particularly the expectations we place on ourselves, is a process. It requires vulnerability and courage to be honest about what truly matters to us. It involves giving ourselves permission to fail, to change course, and to let go of perfectionism. One of the most freeing moments in this journey was when I started to embrace the idea that I wasn't a failure if I didn't meet a specific milestone by a certain time. I stopped measuring my worth by the number of followers, likes, or clients. Instead, I measured my success by how well I was staying true to myself, how well I was learning along the way, and how compassionate I was toward myself through the tough moments. This is where freedom lies. When we stop trying our worth to external measures of success, we are able to fully embrace our journey. We can let go of the comparison trap, of the feeling that we are constantly behind, and simply be content with where we are. Letting go of these expectations doesn't mean abandoning our dreams or becoming complacent. In fact, it often leads to greater clarity and more sustainable act success. When we stop forcing ourselves to meet arbitrary milestones and instead align with what truly matters to us, we make space for the kind of success that nourishes us. This is the kind of success that is soul satisfying and rooted in our true selves. Letting go also means embracing the unknown. It's stepping into the uncertainty of life and giving yourself the freedom to explore without the burden of a predetermined destination. It's about allowing yourself to evolve, to make mistakes, and to trust that you're exactly where you need to be, even when you don't have it all figured out. So if you're feeling overwhelmed by the weight of expectations, whether from others or from yourself, I encourage you to take a moment and ask, what if I let go of the need to meet those expectations? What if I chose a different path, one where I define success on my terms, based on what truly matters to me? The freedom that comes from releasing these pressures is transformative. It allows you to step into your own power, to create without limits, and to live a life that is authentic, fulfilling, and meaningful. And in that space, you'll discover that success is not something you have to chase. It's something you get to experience every single day in the small, beautiful moments of simply being yourself. Letting go of the weight of expectations is a journey, and it's the one that leads to freedom, peace, and a deeper connection to your true self. As we wrap up today's episode on the weight of expectations, I want to leave you with this reminder. You are not defined by the expectations placed upon you. Your worth is not measured by how well you meet external pressures, and success is not a rigid destination. It's a feeling, an alignment with your truth, a journey that unfolds in its own time. If today's episode resonated with you, I would love to hear your thoughts. How have expectations shaped your journey? What are you working on letting go of? Let's continue this conversation together. You can connect with me on Instagram at letstalk.mentalhealthwellness. Send me a message, share your reflections, or tag me in your stories. I love building this community with you, and I appreciate you being here on this journey with me. Until next time, be kind to yourself, embrace your path, and remember, you are enough exactly as you are. Take care, and I'll see you in the next episode.